Thank you very much. And we now have Paolo Buccirossi on the economics, on the intermediation and antitrust economics. So, Paolo.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to Margherita Colangelo and Vincenzo Zenkovic for inviting me. I am an economist as well. I'm really impressed that law school conference, and we are, the economists are the majority at this table, which is really impressive. I already performed some very complex calculation on the spot, so I fulfilled my duty, and so now we can have lunch. No. No, I'm going to talk about the topic that I was assigned. I have to say that the title, Online Intermediation Antitrust Economics, and the fact that I was given 20 minutes is a sort of inner contradiction, and so I decided to focus on one specific topic on this broad, within this broad theme. And the topic I'm going to talk about is the anti-competitive analysis, the competitive analysis of these across-platform parity agreements. As Margherita said, this is the name that we chose for this kind of agreements in a search project that we did for the OFD, and so I will stick to this name, even though there are a number of other names that are used for referring to this kind of practice, and I have to admit that the APA name is not the most common. They usually referred to as retail MFN clause. I will give a very quick reference to the case law. I already know that speaking at the end of the panel, this kind of task would have been already performed by previous speakers, so that I don't have to talk too much about the previous case law, but I will try to describe the theory of SARM and the efficiency justifications that were discussed during these cases, the theories of SARM that were investigated by the competition authorities, and the efficiency justifications that were put forward by the parties, and try to discuss them using a very simple analytical framework. I'm not going to give you mathematical models, but I will try to use some economic reasoning, at least to dwell on these theories of ARM. All right. So, what is an across-platform parity agreement? It's an agreement between a seller and a trade platform, whereby the seller undertakes to charge on that platform a price that is not higher than the price that the same seller is going to charge for the same product on competing platform, including new entrant platform and its own platforms. So it's an agreement that is made by two parties. The parties are the seller and the platform. In this case, it's an agreement between the seller and platform one. And it's an agreement that regulates the price that one of the two parties to the agreement, the seller, is going to charge to a third party. So the parties to the agreement are the seller and the platform, but the price that is regulated is the price that that is referred to the transaction that will occur between the seller and the buyer. And the way this price is regulated is that the seller cannot charge on platform one a price that is higher than the price that the same seller is going to charge on platform two. So the price on platform one is in a way a function of the price that the seller is going to charge on platform two. Okay, that's the across-platform parity agreement, or APA, or retail MFN. And there have been a very high number of cases that already have been investigated both in the US and in the EU. The U.S. case is a very peculiar one, I would say. It's a case where the allegation was then confirmed by the Court of Appeal, the District Court and the Court of Appeal. It was that there was a conspiracy among the book publishers. So it was brought as a typical cartel case among the book publishers that were not really happy about the pricing decisions that the Amazon was making in the sale of e-book over its own platform, and they were trying to convince Amazon to raise the price of e-book, even though in the short term there was no harm for them stemming from the pricing strategy adopted by Amazon. And in this case, Apple entered the scene with its iPad and the iBook store, and was used, let's say, by the book publishers to facilitate their horizontal agreement, and this was achieved exactly through the adoption of this MFN clause concerning the sale of e-book on the Apple platform. Okay, the European cases have been already described by Margherita. There was an investigation started, two investigations actually started by the UK and the German competition authorities against Amazon. The case was closed because Amazon decided to change its policy, and this was the case in which Amazon was actually acting as a platform, because it was a clause that was included in the contract that Amazon had concluded with the other sellers that were using Amazon as a trade platform. Then there is this case decided by the OFT on motor insurance. This was a case in which a typical cross-platform parity agreement case concerning the agreement between motor insurance companies and price comparison website, which were actually acting as platform, not only allowing consumers to compare prices across insurance companies, but also to purchase the insurance contract through the platform. And then there is the online travel agent saga. The first UK case was actually run as a classical RPM case, even though there was, a MFN clause in the contract between the online platform and the hotel. It was run as a typical RPM, and was decided as a typical RPM because actually the commitments that were proposed by the parties allowed the hotels to offer discounts to a close group of users, which means that in this case the platform was considered to be the retailer and the hotel was the supplier. And the agreement was such that the hotel were actually setting the retail price for their rooms. The other online travel agent cases are more in line with what I'm going to talk about, where the platform is not a retailer, but is actually just a platform that is allowing the suppliers, the seller and the buyer, to transact among themselves. And as Margherita said, there's been a case in Germany that it's been closed by the Bundeskartellamt, and the Bundeskartellamt decision has been confirmed by the appeal court. And finally, we have the many cases that have been started on on Booking and Expedia retail MFN clause or APA clauses. And as it was mentioned already, there has been an unprecedented cooperation among national competition authorities. The case has been closed as far as Booking is concerned, and it's still ongoing for Expedia. Okay, the theories of harm that we can find in these investigations are various. In the US case, the alleged harm was coming from collusion in the product market, in the e-book market, in the market where the publishers operate. And this is very atypical anyway, because most of the investigations on APAs are much more focused on the platform market. So the theory of harm in the European cases is, as I said, concern the platform market, and either relates to the idea that this practice can soften competition across platforms, or can be used by a dominant platform to foreclose the platform market. So I have to say that even though the legal basis is 101, the theory of harm is not necessarily collusion or softened competition. The parties in the European cases have argued that the retail MFN is actually necessary to avoid free riding on the investments they have to make to develop the platform and to make it a better platform. Whereas in the US, Apple argued in the appeal, and is actually arguing now in the Supreme Court, that the agency agreement and the MFN clause was necessary to enter a market that was dominated by Amazon. And that's interesting because we have a possible explanation for this practice is that it is used by a company to foreclose the market, and at the same time, a company is arguing that the clause is necessary to enter a market. So at the same time, the same clause can be used to foreclose the market or to allow entry in the market, which sounds strange. Okay, so I'm now going to explain the framework that I will use. Even though there are some equations, don't worry about that, because I will try to not to use them. To explain the main ingredients of my reasoning. So the simple framework is the following. Suppose that there are two platforms, platform 1, platform 2, and the platforms have to set a per transaction fee, which means that there is a fee that is paid by the seller, actually, every time a transaction is done through the platform. And then the sellers have to set the retail price, the price P, which will obviously take into account also the fee that they have to pay to the platform. Finally, consumers observe the retail price, which is the only thing that they can observe. They are not aware of the transaction-based fee that the seller is paying to the platform, and consumers decide where to buy and how much to buy. So we can, in a way, think about this situation in a reduced form framework, meaning that the number of transactions that will occur through the platform will depend on the level of the fee that is charged by the platform, because the level of the fee that is charged by the platform will be, to some extent, passed through on the final price. And also the share of transactions that will occur through platform 1 or platform 2 will depend on these fees. And so the overall demand for each of the platform can be described in this way. It's the total number of transactions that occur through the platforms times the share of those transactions that occur through platform I. Okay, and if we use this demand, we come up with this formula, and I'll explain what it means. First of all, the first element on the left-hand side of the equation is a measure of market power, the ability of a firm to charge a price above the competitive level. And this degree of market power depends on two elasticities. The first one represents the first constraint that comes from the consumer decision to move away from a platform and to patronize a competing platform. Okay, if Booking raises its fee, and as a consequence, hotels will raise the price of the room if the room is booked through Booking. Consumers will switch from Booking to Expedia or to other OTA. Okay, so this is the first type of reaction that consumers can have, and this will of course constrain the ability of Booking to raise the price. The second constraint is the decision of consumers to move away from the market, to buy, I don't know, to book the room for 5 nights instead of 6 or 7, or to skip the platform and decide to book the room directly by calling the hotel. Okay, not using the platform. So and both effects depend on the level of the fee charged by the platform. All right. So if this is the setup, we can as usual consider two typical situations. The first one is a monopoly situation, and the second one is a perfectly competitive market. Now, in a perfectly competitive market, consumers are completely free to go from one platform to another, and this means that if a platform tries to raise the price of using that platform, all consumers will switch to the other platforms. I mean, this is an indirect effect because, of course, we have to go through the price that is set by the seller. But at the end, since the seller will pass through the increased fee on the final price, all consumers will switch to the other platform, and so the first elasticity is infinite, which means that there is no market power. As far as I try to raise the price of using my platform, I lose all transactions, and there is no way I can exert market power. The opposite situation is where there is just one platform. So consumers cannot move from one platform to another, and the first elasticity is 0 by definition. If there is a monopoly and the only constraint that I have in setting my price is the fact that consumers will decide to buy less, okay? And which means that I will fully bear the effect of raising my fee because they will buy less, they will use less the platform market, and since I am the only firm operating in the platform market, I will bear completely the effect of raising the price. Okay, now we have these two benchmarks. We can analyze how the market, in which there are two platforms, change when there is the cross-platform parity agreement in place. And when there is a cross-platform parity agreement, the first elasticity is 0, as in a monopoly case. Why? It is 0 because the sellers, the hotel, is prevented from passing through on the final price the increased fee of using one platform. If platform 1 raises its fee, the final price will be the same on platform 1 and on platform 2, because this is the effect of the parity agreement. Okay? So consumers have no incentives to move from one platform to another, and therefore the consequence of increasing the platform fee is non-existent as far as the share of the market that goes to platform 1 is concerned. On the other hand, the impact of raising the fee on the size of the market is lower than in a monopoly case. Why? Because the seller that is forced to charge the same price on all platforms will add a markup on the average fee that is paying to all platforms. And therefore, if a platform raises its fee, okay, the final price will raise less. Okay. As a consequence, the competition across the two platforms, when there is the parity agreement, will induce them to charge a fee which is above the monopoly level. So the market power is increased by the existence, the ability of the two firms of exerting market power is increased by the parity clause, and it's increased even more than the platforms would want to, because they end up charging a price that is above the monopoly level. Okay, can we use this framework to explain the various theories of harm? Well, the first theory of harm was softening competition, and is clearly the case if we apply this framework, even though there is this overshooting effect, because competition is softened too much, even from the point of view of the platforms. What about foreclosure? Well, we can reason in this way. Suppose that platform 1 is the incumbent, and platform 2 is the entrant. And since platform 2 cannot increase its market share by adopting a low-cost, low-price strategy, because at the end, the final price will be the same on platform 2 and platform 1, platform 2 may be prevented from entering the market if it has to, bear some sunk cost of entry that are not covered by the smaller market share. What about efficiency justifications? Well, the framework can be used also to support a possible efficiency justification. Actually, the free riding, the APA will prevent the free riding, because platform 2 cannot benefit from offering a lower price, and therefore there is not the possibility for the second platform to free ride on investments made by the first platform. And also the entry justification can be explained with this framework, because we have to reverse the position of the two platforms. Consider that platform 1, that is the platform that is adopting the APA, is actually the entrant, as in the Apple case, and Amazon is the incumbent and dominant company. And the reason why Apple, meaning the entrant, is adopting the APA is that it wants to prevent the incumbent from reacting aggressively to the new entry. So the efficiency justifications can be explained by this framework, but at the same time I have to point out that they are based on the idea that a cross-platform parity agreement will make the platform market less competitive, which is the same market in which the platform operates, of course, and so we have this situation in which it's totally different from an exclusive distribution case in which the manufacturer wants to make the retail market less competitive, because the manufacturer is adopting a solution to make less competitive a market in which it does not operate. In this case, it's the platform that is adopting a certain practice to make less competitive the market in which it operates. So the welfare analysis or the competition assessment may be completely different. Okay. Of course, in this very simple or maybe simplistic framework, we have assumed that all sellers have to trade on all platforms. But we can, this is not, of course, this is not always the case. They may decide to trade on one platform instead of using the other platform. And if the platforms are perfectly homogeneous, the cross-platform parity agreement cannot prevent the perfectly competitive outcome, because sellers will decide to trade only on the cheapest platform. Why to trade with Booking if Booking is charging such a high price if I can use another platform and achieve the same final result at a lower price? So the implication is that there must be some imperfections in the platform market, and somehow the platform that is imposing the HAPA must be, to some extent, an unavoidable commercial partner. It must be a company with some market power for some reasons. Okay, so if we take into consideration this possibility, then the softened competition theory becomes less plausible, because we have a market in which competition is already lower, because there is a company with some market power which stems from other characteristics of the market. The foreclosure theory becomes more plausible, in my view, because it's much easier that a dominant company can impose this kind of clause and using it to prevent competition from other platforms. The free riding story becomes less credible, because this means that the dominant company has other means to attract consumers. It does not need to leverage on the cross-platform parity agreement to keep those customers. And the entry idea is less convincing, still possible, but less convincing, because we have to prove that in a way that the platform was able to convince the sellers to accept the MFN clause, even though it's not, even if it's a new entrant. Okay. This story can apply perfectly to the Apple case, in my view, because Apple it was a new entrant, but it was offering the iPad, which did not perform only the function of allowing people to read books. It was a probably very successful, as it has been a very successful device for Apple. A different efficiency justification has to be taken into account. It's a free riding story also in this case, but it's slightly different. It hinges on the idea that the main function, well, one of the main functions that intermediaries perform is to match seller and prospect buyers, and it's like a real estate agent. And once this matching function has been performed, the seller and the buyer are better off if they avoid the intermediary. If you want to sell the house, you go to the real estate agent, and once the real estate agent has found the buyer, you're much better off to avoid the agent and to conclude the transaction with the buyer directly, because in this way you can avoid the fee that is charged by the agent. So they perform this matching function, but once the matching function has been performed, the two parties of the transaction are better off without an intermediary. And so the intermediary has to find a way to protect its position. And on this basis, the Competition Authority of Italy, Sweden, and France accepted the commitments that were proposed by Booking, that moved from the broad MFN, broad APA, to the narrow one, whereby the seller is prevented from offering lower price on its own channel. So it's prevented from avoiding the intermediary once the matching function has been performed. I'm not sure that this narrow APA strikes the right balance, so I leave it as a question for you, because this narrow APA does not eliminate all the competitive distortions that are related to this practice. And in my view, these are my conclusions. That foreclosure is the most likely theory of harm, at least it is my position. That the efficiency justifications are not totally convincing. I find that the free riding on the matching function of the intermediary is an issue. It's an issue that only raises when the intermediary is using a transaction-based fee, by the way. I mean, they can use a different business model. They can charge per click, or they can use an advertising model where the revenues come from advertising rather than the fee that is based on individual transactions. And if this is the case, we'll actually need to prove that the transaction-based model is the most efficient one. Only in this case we can say that the efficiency justification is a proper justification. Finally, my idea is that the commitment decisions in these cases are probably inappropriate because it's a new area. We have to understand a little better and give guidance to the other operators. And it hasn't prevented, inconsistent or conflicting decisions by various competition authorities, because the German competition authority is still doing the case, and will probably end up with a prohibition decision. Okay, thank you very much.
So, thank you very much. First, we have a time for questions to Paolo.
May I?
Sure.
I'm interested in knowing what you think about the theory, talking about e-books and complete digitization of the chain, that says that publishers are interested in making a cartel because they need to recoup fixed costs in face of very low variable costs. And absent product differentiation, or that kind of product differentiation that you can create via format and incompatibility, the only way they can use to recoup their fixed cost is to create a cartel. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't buy this story because books are very differentiated products, so there cannot be such a strong competition that the only way they can cover fixed costs is by making a cartel. So I don't think they. And by the way, they always had to cover fixed costs, also in the non-digital environment, and they could do it easily. And you know, they also in the e-book case in the US, they were not raising the wholesale price. They were already free to set the wholesale price they wanted. They were actually making a lot of money from the sale of e-books because Amazon was paying the full wholesale price, even though it was selling the e-book at a retail price that was lower than the wholesale price. So the publishers were not really concerned that they were making not enough money at that moment. They were concerned that of two things. One was that consumers would get used, to pay only $10 for a bestseller, and they would at the end be forced to lower the price of hard books. And the second concern was that Amazon could, after a certain period of time, could become a publisher itself, let's say so, and so avoid the intermediation of publishers between writers and readers. Okay, so this.
Right. Any other question to Paolo?
The analysis, actually. We used to debate in other circles. Now, the foreclosure theory is based on the premise that the way to enter this market is to propose lower price. So, and I have a hard time to figure out what kind of innovation an innovator would. I mean, these markets are not about allowing you to get lower price in a sense, and it's booking markets. There are price comparison websites where you can do it. So, but if you think that entry is more about providing a better match or better quality of services, I mean, the whole foreclosure theory can be basically turned upside down in the sense that that it's kind of important not to have too much price competition. After price competition is between hotels, it's not between.
Yeah,
and
certainly.
You can still compete on the fees.
It does not prevent the entry of high-cost, high-quality platform, because the high-cost, high-quality platform has nothing to fear about from the parity clause. You're right. But it does prevent the entry of a low-cost, low-price platform. I'm not totally sure that all customers, all sellers and buyers want to have a high-quality platform. It might be. But it can also prevent the entry of a high-quality platform with a very good quality of services using a different business model. If I have a fantastic platform with perfect matching, great reviews, and all the stuff, and I want to use a business model whereby I do not charge sellers at all per transaction, I will only charge a subscription fee, let's say, but not a usage fee. With the idea that this will not be a marginal cost, for the seller, and therefore that they can afford to charge a lower retail price or final price to consumers. And this is this might be a successful way of entering the market because consumers are happy to pay lower final price and will move to the new entrant. And this kind of entry would be prevented from the upper. So this might be another story.
Yeah. Please.
Just want to come on this high quality platforms, might seem rather frivolous, but after the Ashley Madison case of online dating, that has become, there's an issue of security, which is a considerable issue, but also a question of quality of the information of dating mates. And so the fact that if you will enroll in an online dating service, if you know who's on the other side, because generally what happens is that there's some kind of misleading, I mean, someone who is married and has 5 children and says that he's free, and there's someone else who photoshops his or her photograph. So, I mean, there's a problem of verification. So in this case, the fact that the intermediary is someone who also verifies the kind of quality of information which is provided. So just to point out that I think we have to distinguish the various markets, and also, I mean, if we're talking about a real estate market, which I think there's not much difference between a real estate market and an online dating market. What you want to know is that actually what you're trying to buy is that house is there, it has that certain quality. So, I mean, the kind of trust you're requiring from the intermediary is more or less the same. So just I think we have to segment the kind of online services, and that they're not, you might have need for high quality in which you're very willing and you feel you have to pay for it.
Was a question? No, I agree. It's not. No. I agree. I think it's not really a competition issue. It's a regulation issue that has to be.
That's related to what I said. If there are other people who are looking for cheap hotels and they don't care for quality, this APA is not a problem, because basically these are cheap, bad quality hotels. They will be badly ranked. On Bookings or Expedia, and there may be another platform which are specialized in bad quality, cheap hotels.
Low cost, let's say low cost hotels.
Oh, low cost hotels.
That's quite bad quality. Low cost
and this
low
would be
cost
another, but they would not be on the, anyway, the price would be low for all the platforms, not so.
Not sure.
The business model is more interesting because here you really have a problem.
This consider this Airbnb, model, and the apartment owner can trade or Airbnb, which is not asking any parity. It could trade on Booking, which was asking actually parity, and could trade on HomeAway, which is a different platform that is not charging a per transaction fee. It just charges a subscription fee. So we have, and if I am the owner of the apartment and I want to trade on Booking, at the end of the day, since Booking is the one that is charging the highest fee, I will have to set the same high fee on all platforms before the commitments and before the intervention of the competition authority. So that platform prevented the platform owner to to discriminate prices across platforms, and those platforms were actually using very different business models, because Booking is charging very high fee to the seller, but it's not charging the customer in any way. Airbnb is charging a relatively high fee on the customer and a very low fee to the seller, but it's charging both. And HomeAway charges a subscription fee to the seller and 0 fee to the customer. So there is this variety of models, and they can grow without the parity agreement, parity clause.
Yeah. Nobody said a word about rebates, and I think this is an issue as well, because even in the presence of price parity across platforms, you can differentiate by giving rebates to consumers, so giving back the fee to consumers. And this is a way in which competition would be reestablished. It's like in credit cards. American Express provides you with lots of benefits if you use American Express. And so you are made indifferent. So there is an issue of for you to choose the higher, so you have an incentive to use the higher fee service provider because it provides you with a higher benefits. But that's besides the point. I'm just asking whether some work has been done, what type of booking is already introducing discounts, rebates. Hotels.com provides you with discounts, 9 booking, and the 10th one is for free. So there are movements where competition, irrespective of all these agreements, is indeed flourishing. So
very good question. I have to say that even if we have been talking about two-sided platforms, most of the literature so far has been using a one-side market model to analyze these cases. So one possible objection might be, why don't the new entrant, for instance, lower the price to the consumer, even if the price that is charged to the consumer is 0, they can still offer negative price. They can pay the consumer to to use the platform. And why they're not using it? They're doing. Well, they're not really giving money away, but anyway,
they're room for free. That's money away.
Yeah, they're offering discounts that consumers can.
You have after 9th booking, the 10th one is for free. Not the fees for free. The room is for free.
Discount.
It's a discount.
It's a quantity discount. Yes,
well,
it's a discount that they can use. So they, in a sense, they are giving money. They are giving money. My response would be that if we take, the two-sided theory seriously, as we should, and the theory says that these markets are defined as the market in which not only the price level but also the price structure matters, you're forcing the new entrant to use a different price structure from the one that they would have used otherwise. If the price structure matters, this means that the new entrant will certainly have a lower demand than the one that it would get without the parity clause. So the foreclosure theory can still survive this kind of objection. So it's less convincing, I agree, but can survive.
But the foreclosure theory requires dominance.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I said if there is no dominance, if the platforms are homogeneous,
it's difficult to believe that Booking.com is dominant.
I mean, why sellers should stay on Booking if Booking has not a dominant position? I mean, let's.
Issue about competition.
Yeah, we shouldn't. So this is a general discussion. So we are just.
For anyone.
So I'd like to open it up to everyone.
Bringing back your comments on rebates, there's also this discussion about price discrimination, in the sense that there are these clauses that are across platforms. You have the same price, but consumers coming from different, maybe countries or geographic places, may have to pay different prices. There are these technologies that can geolocate consumers, and they are able to fine-tune pricing for different willingness to pay according to what the algorithm is telling the platform. But is there any, theory suggesting hints in this kind of thing in terms of welfare, in terms of antitrust intervention into these cases, or maybe a regulatory approaches to this? In your opinion?
Go first, because I was not.
Lawyers should respond.
In general, long debate between lawyers and economists about price discrimination. From the economic perspective, it tends to be pro-competitive. You have to look at it's market segmentation. So I mean, Amazon blocking the website of Spain to the French whether it's more than price discrimination. It's really a market segmentation. So market segmentation may be worse, maybe less pro-competitive. So what would be good is to have no market segmentation but price discrimination. So that would be our view. You have to be very careful when you start to look at this price discrimination things. You have to make sure that this is not used to bring in the market people who have low willingness to pay. So we don't have much to say from a.
Well, if it's based on
I believe price discrimination should not be a major competitive concern.
Well, if it's based on an agreement among platforms, then it could fall under the antitrust provisions.
Sign exclusive agreements,
No. If this discrimination is not unilateral, but it is based on some agreement, and you can find the proof, then it could be.
It could be market sharing.
Right. Right.
Market division.
Right. Back there. Right.
Price discrimination.
Then it's a different type of issue.
Just to comment on this, I think from
Any other?
Excuse me. Very nice on defensive versus offensive use of practice. There is a very nice paper. I don't recommend you to read it because even me cannot read it, by Robin Lee, on the video games market. And he's trying to estimate between 2000 and 2005 what was the implication of exclusive agreement in the video game market. So all this exclusive agreement between video platforms. And at this time, Sony was the dominant platform. And the conclusion of the study is that this exclusive agreement allowed the competitors of Sony to survive. Allow them to survive in the market face to Sony, because it allows them to sign exclusively some games, which were maybe not as popular as Mario, and providing exclusive content to gamers, and then this allows them to convince other developers to stay on the platform and not to focus on Sony. So there are cases where this kind of practice, which we may view as anti-competitive, sometimes can be pro-competitive in the case of platforms. And this is at least one instance that has been studied. And,
I didn't see in your list of intermediaries booking.
No, because it was not among the 15.
Was
not among the 15 guys. But yeah, I read it. I agree with his analysis. There is also another US case which is very interesting, which is that about Apple and iPad iTunes, which was a case of predatory innovation, where Apple changed the framework of iTunes and created incompatibility. And then that case was solved in favor of Apple, saying that as long as
Okay, so I think it was a very interesting session. Many issues. Let me finish before. You want to go, but applause. No, it was an interesting session, and many issues were discussed, although the major one, which was whether authorities were right in prohibiting the narrow clause, the wider clause, and the wider clause and allowing the narrow clause has not been discussed so much. I just would like to mention that has been a study made in Hungary on free riding between platforms and hotels, and they confirmed the fact that indeed there is a lot of free riding between platforms and hotels, so as to justify the decision by competition authorities. But I certainly agree, as I said before, that commitment decisions in innovation markets are really create a lot of difficulties because they don't solve all the many difficult and problematic questions that we have discussed today. And it would have been, so in this sense, Germany is at the forefront. At least they have a case discussed in court, and there's going to be others. And at least for Germany, and maybe for the rest of Europe, we will have a clear solution. And of course, what is happening in France and unfortunately in Italy, where this type of questions are taken up by legislation, it really undermines the whole function of antitrust authorities, and it's very negative in this respect because it puts into question the existence in a very minor way, or the efficacy of antitrust intervention. So I'm quite worried of this sort of developments and of proposals. So having said that, there is lunch, and we'll resume at 2:30.